For the best experience, please use headphones or listen in a quiet environment. Unlock Life's Secrets, Timeless Lessons from the Prophet by Kahlil Gibran. Have you ever paused to ask yourself, what is the purpose of my life? Why am I here? These are not questions to merely pass the time. They're the essence of what it means to live with intention. Today we're diving into a timeless masterpiece that holds profound answers to these questions. The Prophet by Kahlil Gibran. By the end of this conversation, I promise you'll feel a renewed sense of clarity and purpose. You'll walk away not just inspired, but empowered to create real, meaningful changes in your life. Let me start with a powerful thought from Gibran. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. Pause for a moment and let that sink in. Have you ever thought about how often we try to control outcomes? In our children, our careers, even our relationships, Gibran reminds us that true freedom comes from understanding that we are stewards, not owners. Life's essence is to guide and nurture, not to dominate or dictate. But then, how do we embrace this freedom without losing our sense of responsibility? The balance between holding on and letting go. It's a paradox we all face. We want to control things because it gives us a sense of safety, but life's greatest joys often come when we let go. Gibran writes, "You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give." What does this mean for you? Are you giving your time, your love, your energy to others, or are you just going through the motions? Giving of yourself doesn't mean grand gestures. It's in the little things, a kind word, a moment of patience, a listening ear. Action step. Think of one person in your life right now who could benefit from your undivided attention. Schedule 15 minutes today to be fully present for them. Consider another quote, this time from Brené Brown's Daring Greatly. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's our greatest measure of courage. Vulnerability is the ultimate expression of letting go of control. For instance, think about a leader who admits their mistakes to their team. It builds trust and fosters stronger relationships. In your own life, ask yourself, where can I be more open and authentic? Action step. Share a truth about yourself with someone you trust. And notice how it strengthens your connection. Scientific studies further illuminate this concept. Research published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships demonstrates that vulnerability enhances relational satisfaction. In a real-world example, couples who engaged in vulnerability sessions where they shared their fears and aspirations reported a 20% increase in emotional intimacy. Reflect on this. Are you willing to step into vulnerability to deepen your relationships? Another common mistake people make is equating vulnerability with overexposure. They think sharing too much is a sign of weakness. But vulnerability, when expressed thoughtfully, fosters connection rather than alienation. For example, a manager sharing a personal story about overcoming challenges can inspire their team, whereas sharing unrelated, deeply personal issues may come across as inappropriate. The key is balance. Ask yourself, what can I share that will add value to the other person's experience? One powerful example of letting go and embracing vulnerability is the story of Howard Schultz, the former CEO of Starbucks. Schultz openly shared his humble beginnings and the challenges he faced growing up in poverty. His willingness to connect on a human level not only strengthened his leadership, but also inspired employees across the company to strive for excellence despite their own obstacles. This is the kind of impact vulnerability can have when expressed with intention. Love, the anchor of life. Love gives not but itself and takes not but from itself, Gibran wrote. Love isn't transactional. It's not about keeping score or expecting a return. But then, why do so many of us measure love in terms of what we get back? Think about your relationships. Are you showing up to give love or to get something in return? James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, shares a practical insight. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. If you want to be someone who loves unconditionally, start by voting for that version of yourself in small, consistent ways. For example, if you're upset with a friend, instead of reacting impulsively, ask, how can I approach this with love? Action step. Take one relationship in your life where you feel tension or imbalance. Instead of focusing on what you're not receiving, ask yourself, How can I give more? Write down 3 things you can do this week to show unconditional love in that relationship. Studies from positive psychology reveal that practicing loving-kindness meditation increases empathy and reduces bias. For instance, a workplace study conducted at Stanford University showed that employees who practiced compassion-focused exercises reported higher job satisfaction and lower stress levels. Imagine the ripple effect this could have in your own life. One act of love can inspire a wave of positivity. Another mistake people make is confusing love with dependency. Love is freeing, while dependency binds. Reflect on whether your love encourages growth and independence in both yourself and the other person. For example, a parent who supports their child's unique aspirations without imposing their own expectations exemplifies true love. Action step. Evaluate one relationship where dependency might be clouding love. Ask yourself, how can I foster independence while still showing care? Real-world examples of love as a transformative force are abundant. Consider the work of Fred Rogers, known for his television program Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. His unyielding belief in the inherent value of every person and his gentle, unconditional love for all children made an indelible mark on millions. His message? I like you, just the way you are. This was not just a phrase, but a profound example of love in action, teaching generations of children to value themselves and others. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once remarked, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." This aligns beautifully with the idea of love giving life purpose and meaning. For instance, consider a caregiver who tirelessly supports a loved one with a chronic illness. The love they give is not always easy, but it sustains them through challenges because it's rooted in purpose. Common misconceptions about love in relationships. One common mistake people make is assuming that love is a finite resource. Many believe that giving love to one person means there is less to give to others. But love is expansive. Think of parents who have multiple children. Loving one child deeply doesn't diminish their love for the others. It often enriches it. Another misconception is that love must always feel good. In reality, love requires effort, compromise, and even discomfort. The psychologist Dr. John Gottman found in his studies on marriage that successful relationships maintain a 5-to-1 ratio of positive to negative interactions. This doesn't mean avoiding conflict, but managing it in a way that strengthens connection. How do you handle conflict in your relationships? Action step: reflect on a recent argument. Ask yourself, how can I approach similar situations in the future with more understanding and compassion? A less discussed mistake is neglecting self-love. Often, people pour themselves into others while neglecting their own needs, leading to burnout. Self-love isn't selfish, it's essential. Imagine trying to pour water from an empty cup. You cannot give your best to others if you're not replenishing yourself. Action step: dedicate 30 minutes this week to doing something that nourishes your soul, whether it's reading, exercising, or simply being still. Work, a love made visible. How do you feel about the work you do? Is it a means to an end, or does it feel like an extension of who you are? Gibran says, work is love made visible. Think about that. Every task, no matter how small or mundane, can be an expression of love if approached with the right mindset. But then, what if your work feels meaningless? That's a signal, not a sentence. It's a sign to reconnect with the why behind what you do, or to seek something that aligns with your passion. Here's an action step. Write down one thing you love about your work, or, if you're struggling, one skill you've developed through it. Reflect on how you can expand that love or skill in new ways. Robin Sharma in the 5 a.m. Club states, "Your days are your life in miniature. As you live your hours, so you craft your years." If your workdays feel disconnected from your values, take a step back and evaluate. For instance, if you value creativity, but find yourself stuck in monotonous tasks, ask how you can infuse small creative moments into your routine. Scientific evidence supports this approach. A study published in the Harvard Business Review found that employees who aligned their tasks with personal values reported a 25% increase in job satisfaction. For example, a nurse who reframed routine tasks like administering medication as acts of kindness experienced renewed fulfillment in her role. What mundane tasks in your life could you reframe to align with a greater sense of purpose? One striking example comes from the life of Elon Musk. His work with Tesla and SpaceX is not just about cars or rockets. It's about his larger vision of creating a sustainable future and making humanity multiplanetary. This deep connection to purpose has not only driven innovation, but inspired thousands to think beyond the ordinary. Steve Jobs, in his famous Stanford commencement speech, said, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle." Jobs' relentless pursuit of work he loved revolutionized technology and left a legacy that continues to influence our world today, on joy and sorrow. One of Gibran's most profound ideas is this: the deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Life isn't about avoiding pain, it's about embracing it as part of your growth. When was the last time you allowed yourself to fully feel your emotions, both the highs and the lows? We live in a world that glorifies happiness, but often dismisses sadness as weakness. But your sorrow is not your enemy, it's your teacher. Mark Manson, in The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, writes, "The pain you pursue in the gym results in better all-around health and energy. The failures in business are what lead to a better understanding of what's necessary to be successful." This is a reminder that growth and joy often follow struggle. For example, think about a time you experienced heartbreak. Perhaps it led you to discover new depths of strength and self-awareness. Neuroscientific studies have shown that the brain's reward centers activate not only during moments of joy, but also in the resolution of sorrow. A groundbreaking study from the University of California demonstrated that individuals who practiced gratitude journaling after experiencing loss reported higher levels of emotional resilience and life satisfaction over time. Action step: take 10 minutes tonight to journal about a recent moment of pain. Ask yourself, what did this experience teach me? How can I grow from it? You'll be amazed at how much strength lies hidden in your struggles. One poignant example of embracing sorrow to find joy comes from Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. As a Holocaust survivor, Frankl discovered that even in the face of unimaginable suffering, meaning could be found. His realization: when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. This perspective continues to inspire millions to find purpose even in their darkest moments. Freedom, a double-edged sword. You shall be free indeed when your days are not without a care, nor your nights without a want and a grief, Gibran writes. True freedom isn't about escaping life's challenges, it's about embracing them with courage and grace. But then, why do so many of us chase a version of freedom that feels empty once we achieve it? Financial security, social recognition, physical comfort, these are important, but they're not the destination. They're tools. One mistake people often make is equating freedom with a lack of responsibility. True freedom is not the absence of obligations, but the ability to choose them intentionally. Think of someone who retires early only to feel aimless. They may have financial freedom, but lack a sense of purpose. Action step: reflect on one area of your life where you've been chasing external freedom. What's the internal freedom you're really seeking? Write it down and brainstorm one action you can take today to align your external and internal goals. One extraordinary example of choosing responsibility as freedom is Malala Yousafzai. After surviving an attack for advocating girls' education, she chose to dedicate her life to ensuring education for all. Her story reminds us that freedom often comes not from escaping challenges, but from embracing them for a greater purpose. Barack Obama, in his farewell address, said, "The long sweep of America has been defined by forward motion, a constant widening of our founding creed to embrace all and not just some." His words remind us that true freedom often requires responsibility and commitment to something larger than ourselves. Teaching through listening now, let's talk about wisdom. Gibran says, "A wise man teaches not with words, but with example." How often do we talk when we should listen? Think about your interactions. Are you listening to understand or to respond? There's a profound power in silence, in allowing someone else's words to settle before you formulate your own. Stephen Covey, in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, emphasizes, "Seek first to understand, then to be understood." Imagine a workplace where leaders truly listen to their teams. Productivity and morale would skyrocket. In your own life, this principle can transform conflicts into opportunities for connection. Action step. In your next conversation, practice active listening. Resist the urge to interrupt or interject. Instead, ask thoughtful questions that encourage the other person to share more deeply. One inspiring real-world example of this is Nelson Mandela. Known for his exceptional ability to listen, Mandela often sought to understand his opponent's perspectives before presenting his own. This approach not only helped him build bridges, but also played a crucial role in dismantling apartheid and uniting a divided nation. Closing thoughts and call to action. So, what have we learned today? We've explored how the Prophet teaches us to give freely, love unconditionally, work passionately, embrace our sorrows, seek true freedom, and listen with intent. These are not abstract ideas. They're tools for a meaningful life. Now I want you to take one action. Just one. Choose from the exercises we've discussed. Give your attention, express unconditional love, find joy in your work, reflect on your pain, align your freedoms, or listen deeply. Commit to doing it today, not tomorrow. If this message resonated with you, if you felt a shift or learned something new, subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a conversation that could transform your life. And if you found value here, like this video. It helps us reach more people. But more importantly, it's a way for you to declare, I'm ready for growth. Lastly, I want to hear from you. Is there a topic or question you've been pondering that could make this world a better place? Let us know in the comments. Your thoughts could spark a discussion that changes lives. Thank you for spending this time with me. Remember, life is not a destination, it's a journey. And every step you take with intention brings you closer to the life you're meant to live. Let's keep growing together.